And we are live. And then we'll wait for everyone to join us. But I'm super excited to kick this off this week before the famous International Women's Day
Yes.
tomorrow with you, Sasha. So you're going to take the spotlight, but we'll just wait for everyone to join us. And everyone else, if you're joining us up live, as always, please say hello in comments or drop us an emoji so that we know that you're there. Unfortunately, it wasn't live last week. So Jared and I were just chatting for 20 minutes and we didn't even know that we were not live. But hopefully it's not going to be the case. And I still don't know what went wrong last week, but there was a glitch with LinkedIn, so I'm not sure. But if anyone's joining us, then please say hello and we'll kick it off. I don't see anyone yet, but I have not turned my mobile phone off just in case. We are live.
I've just double
Okay.
checked. We've got a few people joining us now, so this is exciting.
Yes, amazing. And I'm very excited to have you on because for a number of reasons. So we met under quite peculiar circumstances. So there were unfortunate circumstances for me, but I think that turned into something quite exciting for you very, very quickly after I posted it on LinkedIn.
Mm.
You absolutely impressed me with your level of service, expertise, the whole approach to me being in complete shock of losing all my work and everything that I've built in the last 12 months. So I was quite distraught. But you saved the day for me. I think I've been back to Harvey Norman now for about 7 times. Luckily, you took a break. You didn't see
I
me.
didn't count those last 3 or 4 times, so you're safe.
Thank you. So welcome, my friend. You're an absolute superstar amongst my community. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. You are 2IC at Harvey Norman, Moorabbin,
Correct.
which is not far from me. And you are 22 years old.
Yes, 22 now. That's right.
And when I met you, you were 21, just about to turn
Just
22.
about. Exactly right.
I mean, my friend, you
Mm.
are an absolute superstar, and you're so young, but you're so capable, and you're very professional. You have a very special approach with people, and you absolutely run the show. I've seen you in action quite a few times, so please share. Well, first of all, welcome, and let's kick it off.
So thank you for having me. First and foremost, that's what I want to say. Kind of to know how I am here now, it's always important to sort of go through a little bit of history. So I have been doing computer stuff or computer related stuff for as early as I know. I've always liked it. My mum, being a sort of typical immigrant parent, exposed me to everything until I stuck with something. I did karate, I did jazz, I did dance, I did probably about a million different things, but computers is what really stuck with me. Then my whole life I've been either working on them, doing them, and I actually started in a sort of technical role, where I was repairing, dealing with faulty components, faulty products, that type of stuff, not really customer facing. Then over time, people have kind of told me you're either funny or you're good with people, or you kind of just have a unique way of going about things. And that's when I started dealing a lot more. Well, I say dealing is the wrong terminology there, but working a lot more with customers and being in a more customer facing role, which is kind of where I am now, because I've got the knowledge on the back end on how to do the faulty stuff and knowledge on the front end on how to work with people and communicate with people. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
You have done a remarkable job. I watch you in action with people. You remember them by names. You remember the issues that they came with prior to you being introduced to them, and you just juggle everything in real time. I watched you for an hour and a half whilst I was waiting for you to download the data on my new laptop. So, how does it come naturally?
Some of it is natural. I mean, there's obviously some sort of extent. You can't put every single person in the same situation and they'd be able to respond as well. But other part of it, or for me at least, a lot with how I've been taught customer service, it's more of a traditional way of customer service, where it's you learn every customer's name, you try and relate with the customer, you go sort of out of your way to say hello to them or to come up to them, which I don't think is the sort of modern customer service knowledge and terminology. And you'll see that with a lot of businesses where it might be considered like low value transactions or a low value item, where you go to the shops, you might not necessarily get someone to say hello to you, or you go to fast food or any of these other low value purchases or low transactional amounts, and the customer service is not really taught in those industries, because for that very same reason, if it's a low value transaction, I'm going to put low effort into it. Whereas for me, always, even in the other jobs that I've held, where I've worked in fast food, I've worked in for example, pharmacy as well, I've always been taught that it doesn't matter regardless how much, because you never know how they're going to turn around and what they're going to spend with you in your business. Particularly for me, I used to work for Domino's, where a customer might purchase 1 or 2 or 3 pizzas throughout the whole year, but then it comes up to our busy season, which is Christmas parties, and they might put through an order for the whole company for $1,000. So for me, I've always been taught that it really doesn't matter what the customer is spending or how much or whatever, that you always need to put in 110% and focus on those basic but very vital things in a customer relationship setting.
Yeah, works every single time. Those are great examples. But is it something that Harvey Norman cultivates in the customer-centric culture as well, you think, outside of your bubbly personality?
I would 100% say so. A lot of our training, which I don't know how much of it I can speak about in terms of specifics, but a lot of our training, even just in store or with my team, or the knowledge that I've been passed down on when I was getting trained, a lot of it is obviously customer central, building rapport, engaging with the customer, learning what their needs and what the requirements are for their tech issue, but more importantly, building an engaging and ongoing customer base. Because with the whole Harvey Norman actual company, we do everything. We go straight from bedding to toasters to washing machines to computers and mobile phones, and even photo printing, for example. So someone might come in and print 5 photos with a total order value of $1.15, but then they might come and buy a $10,000 mattress and bed head and that kind of thing through us as well. So a lot of it is nailing it on the building rapport element. So you remember the customer's name, you remember who they are, and the customer feels valued in that sense. And they're more than willing to, when it comes to it, when they need those goods, to go back to Harvey Norman as opposed to any other retailer, for example.
I must admit, Sasha, it got me hooked because I wasn't loyal to Harvey Norman. I did pop in just because it's geographically very close to where we live, but a few times. But that level of service that you provided to me definitely got me hooked. So anything that I think that is available at Harvey Norman, I go to Harvey Norman. I don't go anywhere else. So it's definitely worked very well. I want to touch on the fun factor of, I believe that you now called Mr. LinkedIn.
Mr. LinkedIn, yes, that's my new sort of nickname now.
Do share.
Well, obviously after your post, which firstly, I'll say one thing. I wasn't expecting you to go into the depth that you did, but I do really appreciate it. And those kind words did make me feel a bit, bubbly, and it's always nice to hear nice things about you, of course. But the biggest element of it was I didn't expect the reach that it would go to. And there's a couple of people in your contacts and network that clearly have really good relationships with some of the higher ups in Harvey Norman, because there were people that, I could never. Every company has their sort of structure, and for a lot of things, you're not going to ring up the phone and call the CEO or CFO or anyone along those sort of lines. But I got messages. I had people calling my boss. I had people calling me directly saying, congratulations on the work that you've done, which it's a huge recognition, and I do really appreciate it. And now that's kind of my new nickname, Mr. LinkedIn, which is coming from people that I might not have a everyday sort of relationship with, but they still saw that post and still recognized it. So that's kind of where the nicknames come from.
I love it. That's amazing. But also the fact that, I posted it on LinkedIn because I didn't think that I'm going to do it. I actually don't even know. I was so impressed that I thought I'll just put it out there just to express my gratitude, because you really did the remarkable job for me in just 24 hours, and and saved me from what I thought will be an absolute disaster. So I was very appreciative. But the fact that the executive team extended that recognition, that's a big cultural shift in the organization as well, because they didn't have to. The same way, like I didn't have to do it, but they did. So that means that they're very customer and staff centric, and appreciate when you do go out of your way to service the customer. Thank you for sharing that. I will call you Mr. LinkedIn from now on, because you know that we're going to be bumping into each other quite
Yes,
frequently.
exactly right.
Let's touch on the role of tech in creating seamless customer experience. What are your thoughts on that?
Biggest number one thing with technology, particularly with the customer base that I typically deal with, is most people don't know the extent of what it can do, which is why they're missing out. A lot of the time, or let's say typical retail solution, not necessarily an enterprise-based solution, typical retail solution is a customer who's got a computer that's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, which they haven't seen what computers are capable of nowadays. And they come into the store, and all of a sudden, it's not just the computer that they're looking at, but it's all of the software that the computer can now run, which they never thought was possible before. That's one of the sort of the new things. Like, for example, in my personal experience alone, I didn't know what LinkedIn was capable of before until I was exposed to it through you, basically. So that's kind of the same experience my customers are having, is they have no idea what they could be doing with their computers until they actually find out and learn through either myself or my other staff members. And that's when they start to see what the capabilities are. You can't use what you don't know, and that's sort of the biggest element with retail computer technology at the moment.
That's so true. So you say that we need to take the educational approach. I mean, the LinkedIn is definitely one of the highlights. It amazes me how little people post, and when they do, how does it come out like? But it could be used as an absolutely inspirational, motivational, and educational platform if used for good and used correctly, for sure. So talk to me a little bit about that educational piece. So how would you reach out to people and explain what good looks like when it comes to computer softwares?
Particularly, the biggest thing that we're seeing now, and there is a lot of public debate about this at the moment, and there's a lot of buzzwords being thrown around. Biggest buzzword is, of course, going to be AI, which has been thrown around maybe 10 million times. People more or less have no idea what AI is. The people that do, they do, awesome. But the standard, normal, typical person probably has no idea what AI is or what it's capable of. In the most basic sense, it is stuff that we have already had for about 10 years, but rebranded. It's basically machine learning with the effect that it's creating new ideas while it goes along with it. So this is not a new concept. YouTube has been using some form of AI for maybe 15 years now. When you get a bit of content recommended to you by the algorithm, which is another word that most people have minimal idea of what it's about. But when the algorithm picks up what you like and is recommending you more content about in the same scape of what you like, that is a form of machine learning, which is in effect a form of AI. The next step of what AI actually is whether or not it starts making that content, which at the moment we are not going to really enjoy because it's not fleshed out yet, it's not very fluid. But that's in the sense of, let's say, entertainment. What it actually can do is far more expansive. It can track, particularly right now, the biggest bit of where AI has been the most useful is in new chemical synthesis, where new chemicals and new medicines are being made because they can actually detect how they will interact. And if a certain medication is interacting poorly with a different medication, it can understand why and then alter the original chemical and see how that new chemical will interact with it. Or weather. Now we're getting a lot of buzzwords being thrown around because Cyclone Alfred is coming through. And all of a sudden, the traditional weather media is now being able to see and sort of experiment with what it could look like instead, which previously would be a graphic designer's job and a meteorologist's job, where in reality now it's being put through an algorithm and it's being used by AI in order to further sort of understand what the difference could be. Same thing with personal computers. Personal computers, typical, let's say, customer base that I deal with might not know how to do a certain thing because it's a new version, because the computer's a few years older, the one that they're currently using, and they don't know what the new version's capable of. Previously, what you would do is you would go on Google, which thank you, Google, that you exist, but you go on Google and you search up what the different alternatives are and you have to do your own digging. But in the future, what we could start to see is the computer basically teaching you how to use it, or you being able to have a look at it. One of the biggest things that the new Microsoft Copilot stuff, when it came out in June of last year, one of the biggest things that I saw potential in was the demo that they had, where it was a father trying to understand how his son plays a certain video game. And it actually talked to him while recognizing what's on the screen and what he needed to do in order to proceed with a certain level or a certain part of that game, which for me, I find the most exciting, that being one of the most exciting things, is because it's developing and creating new memories, new experiences for people that were basically never possible before.
That's incredible. Well, as always, I learn a lot from you before and even now in our 20 minutes conversation. So, Mr. LinkedIn,
Yes, that's
thank you
me.
very much.
No
I
worries.
believe that Marina Waxman, a friend of mine who is
Yes,
live on right now, will pay a visit.
perfect,
Marina,
good,
I'll give you Sasha's details.
done.
Please look after her.
Of
She's a
course,
very nice person.
you don't have to mention it.
And
Of course,
I
that's a
know, I
given.
know. Yes, I know. But Sasha, you are, again, I'm just saying this, I think now for the third time, you're an absolute superstar. And thank you so much for being such an amazing person and share your knowledge and experience freely. Remember people's first names when they're walking through the store. And I wish you all the success in the future. I don't think I
Thank you.
need to wish you because you're going to get whatever it is that you want out of this life, and you were brought up very well. So your parents did a great job. I hope your
Thank
mom
you.
is watching this, or maybe she'll watch the replay. Well, thank you so much for joining. I might see you this weekend, and it's been a pleasure. I hope
No,
everyone else enjoyed it.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.